D.B. Cooper, the man who jumped from a plane and vanished without a trace. November 24th, 1971. It was the afternoon before Thanksgiving in the Pacific Northwest. At Portland International Airport in Oregon, a man believed to be in his 40s approached the ticket counter of Northwest Orient Airlines. He wore a dark business suit, a white shirt, and a black tie. He looked like any ordinary office worker heading out on a routine business trip. No one knew that within a few hours he would carry out one of the most daring hijackings in American history. The name on the ticket was Dan Cooper. It may have been an alias, and it would soon become legendary. Cooper boarded Northwest Orient Flight 305, traveling from Portland to Seattle. There were just over 30 passengers on board. Shortly after takeoff, he called a flight attendant over to his seat. At first, she assumed he was trying to flirt with her, but when she opened the note he handed her, everything changed. The message was simple: "I have a bomb." Cooper calmly asked the flight attendant to sit beside him. He then opened his black briefcase, just enough for her to see inside. There appeared to be several red cylindrical objects connected by wires, resembling a real explosive device. His voice remained calm. He never shouted. He never panicked. He knew exactly what he wanted. His demands were clear: $200,000 in cash, 4 parachutes, and a fuel truck waiting when the aircraft landed. Throughout the ordeal, most passengers had no idea they were in the middle of a hijacking. The flight crew secretly notified authorities on the ground. The FBI quickly became involved. When the plane landed in Seattle, officials made a difficult decision. They agreed to Cooper's demands. The cash was delivered. The parachutes were delivered. In exchange, Cooper released every passenger. That decision would later become one of the most intriguing parts of the case. He could have kept hostages to improve his chances of escape. Instead, he let them go. Many investigators later believed this suggested he was not a typical terrorist or violent criminal. After receiving the ransom, Cooper ordered the plane back into the air. The stated destination was Mexico City. However, he made several unusual requests. The aircraft had to fly low. It had to fly slowly, and there had to be as few people on board as possible. To aviation experts, those requests pointed toward a single conclusion. Cooper intended to jump from the aircraft. At approximately 8 p.m., the Boeing 727 was flying through cold, stormy skies over the Pacific Northwest. Outside, it was almost completely dark. Temperatures were dropping. Strong winds battered the aircraft. It was the last set of conditions most people would ever choose for a parachute jump. But Cooper appeared unfazed. He instructed the flight crew to remain inside the cockpit and keep the door closed. A short time later, a warning light illuminated. The pilots felt a sudden movement from the rear of the aircraft. Someone had lowered the rear staircase. Then, nothing. When the plane finally landed, Cooper was gone. Along with the $200,000 ransom, the FBI immediately launched what would become one of the largest investigations in its history. Hundreds of agents were assigned to the case. The area where Cooper was believed to have landed was searched extensively. Helicopters, search dogs, ground teams, every available resource was deployed. Yet investigators found nothing. No body, no parachute, no definitive trace. It was as if the man had simply disappeared. Over the following years, hundreds of suspects emerged: former military personnel, experienced skydivers, career criminals, even men who had already died. Their names were examined one by one and eventually ruled out. One of the biggest questions remained whether Cooper had survived the jump. Many experts argued that survival was highly unlikely. He jumped into darkness, during a storm, carrying a heavy bag of cash, without navigation equipment, without visibility, and with no certainty about where he would land. Based on those conditions alone, many believed he died that very night. But then came a discovery that deepened the mystery. In 1980, an 8-year-old boy named Brian Ingram was playing along the banks of the Columbia River. While digging in the sand, he uncovered several decaying bundles of cash. The FBI later confirmed that the serial numbers matched money from Cooper's ransom. It was the first physical evidence connected to the hijacking in nearly a decade. But instead of solving the mystery, it created even more questions. How did the money get there? Had it been carried by the river? Had someone deliberately buried it? And most importantly, if the money was there, where was Cooper? To this day, nobody knows. The FBI investigated more than 800 suspects. Thousands of tips poured in. Millions of dollars were spent pursuing leads. Every path eventually reached a dead end. In 2016, after nearly 45 years, the FBI officially suspended its active investigation. The case remained unsolved. What makes D.B. Cooper so fascinating is not simply the hijacking itself. It is the disappearance. No confession, no body, no confirmed identity. Only a black tie left behind on the aircraft. A handful of decaying bills discovered on a riverbank. And a mystery that has endured for more than half a century. Perhaps Cooper died during that stormy jump in 1971. Perhaps he survived and carried the secret to his grave. Or perhaps somewhere out there, the mysterious hijacker spent the rest of his life quietly watching the world search for him without ever coming close to finding the truth. That is why the name D.B. Cooper continues to captivate America, and why even today he remains the man who may have pulled off the perfect disappearance in FBI history.